Hi, everyone. I'm Gold Derby News and Features Editor Ray Richmond, and I'm here today with Sofia Vergara, who stars as the notorious Colombian drug queenpin, Griselda Blanco, in the six-part Netflix biographical crime drama Griselda. Sophia, I don't think I need to ask what appealed to you about this character, but let me ask anyway. What appealed to you about portraying Griselda and having
Oh
her
my God. It
represent
was
your kind of coming out as a drama actress?
it was a million things that caught my attention, and I became very, very into this character. Well, I mean, first of all, because I grew up in the 90s and in the 80s and the 90s in Colombia, and we kind of knew who all the big drug dealers unfortunately were. It was the narco traffic was huge at that era. In that era, it changed, our country, our families, the way we lived, the way the world saw us. It was a very crazy time for us, and I lived through it. And I never thought that a Colombian woman could be part of this. Yes, as a wife, as a girlfriend, but never, never, never as a big shot, as big as, any of those other ruthless guys. So there were many, many things.
You do an incredible job in the series, Sophia. I forgot, pretty quickly that I was watching the actress from Modern Family. Uh, you took me along for the ride. Had you ever heard of this woman while you were growing up in Colombia?
No,
Because from what
never.
she was not exactly on the level of Pablo Escobar.
Well, actually, she gave Pablo his first route for narco traffic to the United States. So she was before him. And she became like really, really high in that world, like up to those guys, like they were scared of her. She thought that she needed to be more ruthless, brutal, uh than any of them, because she was a woman, and she was a pretty, normal looking woman that didn't look scary or anything. She was short, she looked like anyone's mother, but she became even worse than all of them. But it was before, and that's why I was so like surprised that I hadn't, if she was so crazy and big, why we never heard of her. Most of her business was not in Colombia. She did it in Miami and Los Angeles.
Exactly. That was my
Yeah,
thought of why she wasn't huge in Colombia, and
yeah,
she didn't threaten the country on the level
exactly.
that Pablo did.
Yeah,
She took Florida down, but she didn't take Colombia down.
yeah.
Um, uh, you had been looking for kind of the right project for a while to sort of reinvent your career after years of playing Gloria, right? I mean, you were looking to put yourself into a drama and sort of change your acting stripes a little bit.
But I mean, no, not really. Like, I didn't think of, oh, I need something of a change, because like I've never really acted before Modern Family. So it's not like a passion that I always wanted to do, or I wanted to play this character, or I want to be seen like this. No, for me, Modern Family, for me, Gloria Preacher was a gift. And so I wanted to keep acting, because I loved, after I did Modern Family, I wanted to do more acting. But I was just looking for something that I felt that I could do, because I don't have any acting training. So I didn't want it to go too far away somewhere that I didn't think that there was something about me in that character. And that's how I found Griselda. Not that I would kill anyone, of course, or sell drugs. uh I don't think so, but I am Colombian. I was a woman. I'm a woman. I was a mother. I was an immigrant. I had many, many things in common with her, and it was hard for me not to, romanticize her or admire her, because she actually became a monster. But there were many things that I did find very, very unique and special in this woman. And you have to have many, many things that are different to other people to be able to get to the level that she got competing with these men.
Well, she was a monster, yes, but she was so many different things, Sophia. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, she was a mother to her kids. She was this earth mother to these reformed prostitutes. She was the hard-nosed, narcotics trafficker. That it was like these three different, almost competing elements that she had to her. That which makes it really a fascinating character.
Thank you. Yes, I thought so too.
And you were pretty confident you could do this. Again, even though you hadn't acted before Modern Family and you had never done anything like this, you didn't have any doubts that you could pull this off.
I mean, not until I was gonna start doing it. I was like, oh my God, why did I thought I could do this? I mean, Gloria preaching with the plastic nose. People are gonna think that's all it is. It's like, so I was really worried because, once I got so into it and then Netflix said yes to me and then Eric Newman from Narcos said yes to me, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. I'm doing this. Um, I I had never acted in Spanish. I had never done a drama. I had never wore prosthetics. I had never smoked in real life. I had to learn. I had to snort cocaine. I had to do so many things that were I had never been a main character with so many lines. I've never been in every single scene in anything that I have done. So there were so many new things for me that now that I think about it, it's like I am crazy. How did I think I could do it? It was hard. It was very hard 6 months for me because I didn't know what was really going on. Like, is this gonna work? But then I started easing into it and believing in myself. And then I realized how good the director was. I realized how good the cast was. We picked a mainly Latin American cast. I think is the best actors that are right now in Latin America. I helped with the director with it, and we wanted them. I was always hoping that maybe to one of them it's going to be, Griselda is going to be what Modern Family did for me and open doors and change, their lives. So it's all been scary but super exciting.
It seems like it was important to you, Sophia, that half the story was going to be told in Spanish with subtitles, and that you have a mostly Latino cast dominated by women. Was that something you kind of insisted on in your conversations with Eric and with Andres?
Yes, because we wanted it to feel real. We wanted it to, if you're in a room full of Colombians, why the hell are you going to be speaking in English? Or if you're, unless there's one American, then it makes sense. Or there's one, person from somewhere else from in the world that people need to be speaking in English. But if you're all Latin people, I wanted it to feel organic. And when there were people that could speak English, yes. And so we did make it 50-50. And that was something that Netflix also, was really, wanted it to try to do to see how it was going to do. And it was great. It felt natural. It felt real. It felt weird for me because I had never really acted in Spanish. But I got used to it, and it was kind of like, oh my God, it feels so good not to be translating, not to be thinking, just to have the thoughts come out of my mouth. It was like, amazing.
And in an odd way, Sophia, you have to pay as somebody who doesn't know Spanish. I had to pay closer attention because I had to be reading the subtitles, and so I couldn't nap it all while I was doing. Not figuratively. I had to really pay close attention, and I think that's there's an advantage in that. I know that wasn't part of the intention, but it really works.
It worked. It worked. But you know what? It could have been the other way. People get disinterested. They don't want to. They're lazy and they don't want to read. That has happened to me. I'm like, oh, I don't want to read subtitles the whole thing. But I've always felt that the show needed it. It needed to feel authentic, and we wanted it to be people to be transported to that era and what was going on in real life, because this is based on a real story.
Absolutely. And you feel, just the way it looks and everything, really, you feel like you're in Miami. Just the way, the filter over the camera and everything. It just,
amazing.
It really makes it feel like you're in the late 70s and early 80s.
Yeah,
and
the costumes, the backgrounds. The director Andy Weiss, is one of I mean, it was a dream for me to work with him. Like I want so bad to do other things with him, but he's so busy. It's like he guided me. I had never acted in on a drama, and he helped me. He taught me how to smoke, how to snort cocaine. He helped me,
Okay,
to
so
get
wait a minute. He taught you how to snort cocaine?
yes,
Okay.
fake cocaine,
Did you
fake,
ask him where he learned how
fake.
to snort?
Fake cocaine. He would come to my house before we started shooting, and we would sit in my backyard or in my living room, and he taught me how to smoke. I was 50 years old and I had never smoked, and he was like, Sophia, you're going to be in every single scene with a cigarette on, and it has to look like you've been doing this. So it was hard. I'm like, I don't want to learn how to smoke.
And
And I did. Also,
you'd never smoked a single cigarette in your life before that?
never, 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 never.
Wow.
I learned how to turn it on, how to hold it. I mean, I was very nervous because, it's like, people that smoke, they use, it's like an extension of their hand. And I'm like, they're gonna know I'm not a smoker.
It was totally seamless. I had no idea you weren't already a 3-pack-a-day smoker just from watching you.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
good, good.
uh, Meanwhile, Sophia, you had to undergo this physical transformation every day during shooting, 3 hours of makeup and
Yeah.
prosthetics, fake nose, fake teeth, plastic on your face, pads on your body. Having all that stuff on you, doesn't that make it difficult to act?
It did. What was difficult was that I couldn't really remove any of it because there was no time. So even my lunch time, my 45-minute lunch, I had to have the stupid wig and then plastic nose and everything on, because then I wouldn't have, I was in every scene. So I didn't have like, oh, 2 hours to rest. No. So that was hard. And the getting used to the teeth, the fake teeth. There were some really fun bloopers where I would be like, like screaming at someone and the teeth will come out. That takes a lot to practice. So to not sound funny, because I had to sound like I was a horrific person, a killer. I can't have like a lip, like a
You had to be a badass, exactly.
yes,
You had to be firm.
yes,
Uh, um, it's also interesting. I think the project doesn't try to bite off Griselda's entire life, but just that slice from
yeah.
the late '70s to the early '80s. Was that? Did you have discussions uh, with the writers with Andres beforehand about where the story should go? I mean, I know you were a producer too, so you had some
Yeah,
input.
we had a lot of talks because there was so much material. And they're public records of what she did. She was in jail for 22 years. She had this career for a long, long time also. She was in Miami, in Los Angeles, a little bit in Colombia. Uh, so they were like trying to pick, we were only doing 6 episodes, so you have to make it work. You have to pick what is important and give it a story and arc and everything. So it was difficult to pick what was gonna go in and what was not, gonna make it. Um, and there were things that were also like I think it would have been too much brutal for TV. So we had to like edit it. I mean, they did mainly the job, but we knew exactly. We also knew that we weren't that interesting in showing, even though she was still working, her time in jail. We didn't want it to show too much of that. We wanted it to be what happened before jail.
But it's so interesting too because again, you're showing her as a monster and she's a killer, but she's also this warm, tender mother. And I guess you can be both, and maybe it makes it more interesting to show both sides. You really do humanize this woman as much
Yeah.
as it's possible to
Yeah.
humanize a drug lord.
It was difficult because I didn't wanted her from the beginning to be hated or judged. I mean, I wanted people to like, invest on her. And that's how I always saw her. I always thought Griselda Blanco just wasn't a monster from the beginning. I wanted to think that there were reasons why she became that there were like good intentions at the beginning, that she was just trying, to survive, that she was just an abused person, that, that she was trying to raise these kids with nothing, that she didn't have any other means but doing what she knew. So I did always have all those things, very present, that I wanted her to come from a place that it was not just, a monster from the beginning. I always thought, I always wanted, when I would think of Griselda, I wanted to make her the most that I could, like Tony Soprano, like I always wanted like someone that you can see the layers, not just, a bad person doing bad things.
At the same time, there's kind of a fine line, Sophia, that you don't want to glamorize her either.
Yeah.
You don't want to show, wow, this is a pretty good life, making millions and pulling it in,
Yeah.
by hooking people on drugs. Because the woman was responsible for so much death and misery in Colombia.
Horrible. Yeah, there were hundreds of people that she killed. It was terrifying, and she ruined the life of her kids. Killed two husbands. It was brutal, and it was difficult not to romanticize it, but it was also difficult for me to wonder who this woman really was when I was investigating about her, because I couldn't imagine a woman being able to be like those guys that I knew from when I lived in Colombia, from the 80s and the 90s, how those narcos were. Like, to me, that was like, there's no way a woman can do that. And she did it in real life. She really, really did bad things.
Was it tough to stop being Griselda and go back to being Sophia after shooting Wrapped? I mean, you're snorting coke and you're screaming and you're ranting and you're raving and crying. Then you're supposed to go home and have a quiet dinner after that?
At the beginning, yes. At the beginning, I think because I had never done any acting like that, I didn't know, I wasn't ready for that. Like, I would go, I mean, I did 11 years. My only real acting job has been Modern Family. 11 years of going home laughing, I mean, with your friends and on set, lines that are like amazing, happy. And then doing this, it was like a complete crazy thing. And I didn't know what was happening to me when I would go at night, to bed. It was like, why can't I fall asleep? Why am I so like anxious? And why, it's like I'm exhausted, but I can't sleep. It was, at the beginning, it was really hard to understand what was happening to me. And then, somebody told me, it's like, you have to realize that your body doesn't really know that you're not going through those things every day. Like, in one day, you're like crying, killing someone, choking, screaming, snoring coke, smoking all day. Of course, I would go home like that. It's like, it took some time for me to understand that was going on.
Wow. Well, I think actually we're going to leave things there. All 6 installments of Griselda are streaming on Netflix. Sofia Vergara, best of luck to you this Emmy season and every season. And thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us at Gold Derby.
Thank you so much. Big kiss to all of you. And thank you for watching it.